The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hi Rogers, can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digital. The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Amacha nga malungi ligwe munanga akedde naffe olunaku olwaleero program ya Mighty Drive era okugikutuusaako nze Olanya Luwedde Lilian. Olunaku olwaleero tugenda kubanga ate twogera nsonga za ttaka, nsonga obaolyawo zikwata ku bannayuganda ab'enjawulo era nga tugenda kuba tutunuulira ensonga ya Balaalo abali mu Northern Uganda. Omukulembeze w'eggwanga azenga ayisa executive orders naye nga ate tulaba nga ebintu ebimu tebikyuka ku nsonga eno. So tugenda kubanga twegattibwako omukulu amanyiddwa nga Olanya Olenge Tonny era nga ono natural resource consultant ate nno munnange okubanga atutangaaliza ku mbeera nga bweri esaidi eyo, wabula tujja kwogerako ne ku nsonga za gold wano mu ggwanga Uganda obaolyawo ne East Africa okutwaliza awamu ng'ensonga tugenda kuba tuzoogera mu lulimi Luzungu. So gwe ayagala okubanga ate obeera part of the discussion osobola okuba nkwesa comment section ku pages of the Alternative Uganda ne TikTok TV netusobola okubanga ate tutambule wamu naye nga tannaba kubanga neegattako ngenda kubanga nkuwa ebimu ku ebyo ebikoze amawulire mu ggwanga lyattu Uganda n'ebitundu by'eggwanga ate ebyenjawulo tusobole okubanga ate munnange tutambulira wamu naye nga nkutegeeza nti programu eno ebeerawo okuva ku Mande okutuuka olunaku olwokutaano ziba ssaawa 2 ez'okumakya okutuuka ku ssaawa 4 ez'akalasamayanzi nga twogera ku nsonga ez'enjawulo ezizimba eggwanga lyattu Uganda. So neegattaako tube nga ate tutambulira wamu okwongera okulaba nga tukuweereza mu mpeereza ey'omulembe. Ngenda kubanga ntandika neggulire ery'omukulembeze w'eggwanga General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Ono nno kyatalaga ebitundu by'eggwanga ebyenjawulo nga bwe nakutegeezezza olunaku regular mu updates zaffe nti ali mu wakisi eyo gye yabadde atambulira naye olunaku regular yabadde Kasanje Town Council okwongera okulambula ku nteekateeka ya parish development model waweetuuse abantu abasobodde okuba nga baganyulwa mu nteekateeka eno weewaawo n'ebirumira ebiri mu nsonga abantu ze bemulugunyaako ezeetaaga okuba nga ate zikolebwako bonnambiro munnange okuva eri abakulu abagaba ensimbi zino. Kakati mu kutambula kwe yasinkanya abantu ab'enjawulo. Waliwo omukyala wa saloon era ng'ono ali mitundu byeyo Entebbe, nayo yatuuseeyo okusobola okulaba nga amanya omukyala ono ensimbi ez'emyoga ze yafuna zimuyambye zitya oba oliawo okubanga yejja ate mu bwavu. Ono yasobodde okuba nga ayogerezeganya naye n'amunnyonnyola ensimbi zino butabwe yazifuna na butabwe zisobodde okuba nga zimuyamba kale mu kwongeramu bizinesi ye eya saloon na butabwe asobodde okuba nga afuna amagoba. Era yatambudde mu bitundu eby'enjawulo era nga yabaddeko ku kyalo Nakasozi mu Kasanje Town Council okwongera okuwulira abaayo nsonga ki zibagenda maaso n'okwemulugunyako ku nteekateeka eno eya Parish Development Model. Ng'abamu ku bo be yasinkanye babadde bamutegeeza nti ensimbi bonga bo ensimbi eza PDM munnange tebazifuna nga bwe bali balina kuzifuna nga waliwo yamugambye nti ye yafunako emitwalo 5 so nga ate abalala nga bo bagamba nti ensimbi zino tebazifuna olw'ensonga nti babateekako obukwakkulizo bungi weewaawo n'emisoso gye baali balina okuba nga bayitamu okufuna ensimbi zino najjo gyali miyitirivu nnyo. So nno ng'agenda maaso n'okubuuliriza okumanya abantu bano ensimbi bazifuna zibayambye oba nabo tebafunamu n'akamu n'akatono. So nno nabo kwe kumutegeeza nti munaye President ensimbi awamu tezaatuuka ate nga awamu we zaatuuka mu bitundutundu so nga ate mu kuzzaayo beetaagibwa okuba nga bazzaayo ensimbi zino mu bujjuvu bwazo. So bw'atyo nno ate bwe yagenze maaso n'okubanga abakalaatira okubanga ate ensimbi zino bwe baba nga bazifunye kale okubanga bazikozesa bulungi okubayambako okwejja ate mu bwavu nabo basobole okubanga bagoba ekizibu banawookerawo obwavu batawaanya mu bitundu ebyo. Kale nno ensonga ezo bwezityo bwezikyali saagala kuzirandaggako nnyo ate okubanga nziremerako kambe nga nkutwala mu update yaffe munnange endala. Akakiiko ak'ekibiina kye NRM era nga kano kakulemberwa Dr. Tang Odoy nabo bavuddemu omwasi ku mivuyo egigenda mu maaso mu bitundu by'eggwanga eby'enjawulo ano munnange eri abakulembeze abeesimbyewo okuvuganya ku kadi y'ekibiina munnange nga bino tebitambudde bulungi. Kakati nkujjukizaako katono nnyo NRM waliwo bammemba abeesimbye ku bifo eby'enjawulo era nga abamu ku bo basukka mu muntu omu wabula Dr. Tang Odoy yali yasaba abantu bano abeesimbyewo kubanga campaigns bazikolera wamu era nga kino kyakubanga kizza obuwagizi eri ekibiina okusinga okuleeta enjawukana wabula bukyanga abasaba kubanga bakolera wamu munnange nno mu bitundu by'eggwanga eby'enjawulo embeera tebadde nnungi nga bwe nakutegeezezaako olunaku olw'eggulo eyisinjiro ebintu nga obuvuyo ebintu by'abantu okubanga byononebwa weewaawo n'abamu okulumizibwa munnange bye bibadde baana baliwo era ng'emubenda eyo ne Sembabule still ensonga ate nno munnange zezimu wabula bwe yavuddeyo yabasabye okubanga kale nno munnange balekerawo okukolera campaigns awamu naye buli omu mu kiti kye abenga akola kyalina okubanga akola n'agamba nti munnange bino ebyokutambula n'abantu abangi abantu abamu gye bayita eggaali oba oliawo bye bimu kubisinza okuleeta obuzibu nti omuntu agenda okutambula ng'atambula n'abantu abasukka mu so buli bw'atambula n'abantu abangi enkambi zino bwe zisisinkana awo nno we wava ate olutalo oba we wava okulwanagana wakati w'abantu bano. Kakati olunaku olw'eggulu era still nga bino byonna bikyali awo ye abawagizi ba minisita omubeezi ow'ebyobulamu era nga ono ye mubaka ow'Amawogola West Anifa Kawooya akati bagenze maaso nabo n'okubanga bagwaŋŋana Malaka n'aba Uthman Kateregga era ng'ono yayagala okubanga amuddira mu bigere. Olunaku olw'eggulo munnange bwe bato bwe basobodde okubanga basisinkana ng'entabwe yavudde ku Anifa Kawoya okubanga agezaako okuyimiriza olukuŋŋaana munne lwe yabadde ategese mu bitundu ebyenjawulo oba buli kafo konna omukulu Kateregga munnange obwedda wayimiramu okwogera n'abawagizi be nga Anifa Kawoya ate no munnange nga naye awerekeddwako ab'ebyokwerinda nga bagenda maaso n'okubanga bamutaataaganya munnange nga bano bo bagamba nti ono yadde talina kugenda maaso nakubanga akuba nkuŋŋaana sayidi eyo so bwe batyo nno bwe bataataaganyiziddwa mu nteekateeka yaabwe so nga ate yo ekasambya mu district ey'Emubende eno nno nga nayo abawagizi b'omukulu David Kabanda munnange nabo bagenda maaso n'okubanga ate baleetawo enjega wakati waabwe ne munnaabwe gwe bagenda maaso n'okubanga bavuganya naye amanyiddwa nga Muhumuza so mu kavuvuŋŋano kano ye Honorable David Kabanda n'agenda maaso n'okubanga ategeeza nga bw'ayimiriza enkuŋŋaana ze okumala akabanga ng'agamba nti munnange effujjo erimukoleddwako n'abantu be ye ng'omuntu tasobola kubigumiikiriza newankubadde ng'ekibiina kyali kyasaba bano okubanga batambuliza wamu emirimu oba okubanga bakolaganira wamu oba okubanga banoonyeza wamu akalulu wabula ye agamba nti munnange ebimu ku ebyo ebyatuusiddwa ku bantu be ye ng'omuntu tasobola kubanga ate abigumiikiriza n'agamba munne bwe bavuganya nti oyo nno omusajja gw'olaba omutiikiizi n'abantu abamu yabadde nga abasindika okujja okubanga bakyankalanya embeera so ye ng'agamba nti munnange kasooka abe nga ayimirizaamu ate okubanga awenja akalulu olw'emivuyo egiyitiridde ate mu kitundu kye era nga munnange bino nno bye byamuviiriddeko okubanga asalawo bw'atyo n'agamba nti abantu be batulugunyiziddwa ekimala so ye omuntu si mwetegefu ate kulabanga munnange ensonga eno egenda bwetyo era kwe kusaba okunoonyereza ate kubenga kukolebwa wamu munnange okulaba nti bamanya entabwe eyavudde ku nsonga eno era ne oba oli awo n'okukangavvula ababadde mu oba abatumye abantu abagenze maaso n'okubanga bakyankalanya oba kuleeta emivuyo egyo kubenga munnange nakwo kukolebwa mu bunnambiro kakati ensonga nga bwe zikyali mu kibiina kye NRM akamyufu k'ekibiina ekyo kasuubirwa okubeerawo mu mwezi guno munnange okulaba baani abagenda okubanga basunsulwa okukwatira ekibiina ekyo ate bendera naye nga sofa tulindiridde nga bwe binaatambula then oluvannyuma bagende mu delegates conference omwezi ate ogujja basobole okubanga basalawo n'abakulembeze baabwe abagenda okubanga babakulembera wakati w'ennaku z'omwezi 12 n'ennaku z'omwezi 22 n'ennaku z'omwezi 25 mwezi ogwa August 2025 NRM wesuubirwa okubanga eba netta abamiruka w'ekibiina ekyo okusalawo okumanya enteekateeka gye balina especially nga tugenda mu kalulu kawamu ate nno munnange n'okumanya abakulembeze abajja ate yeyo nno ate abamiruka bwejja okubanga etambula wabula aduumira poliisi mu ggwanga Abbas Byakagaba olunaku olw'eggulo yasiibye Ssembabule eyo okwongera okumanya embeera etambula etyo era nga mu kubeerayo yagenze maaso n'okubanga agumya abantu mu kitundu ekyo ku nsonga y'okuba nti bajja kubawa security ate emala okusobola okulaba nti bano bayita mu kamyufu obulungi akati Ssembabule ebadde ku mimwa gy'Abannayuganda nga bamu beewunaganya ku mivuyo egiri esayidi eyo wakati wabavuganya nga munnange embiranye erinnyo wakati w'omubaka aliyo Theodore Ssekikubo akiikirira abantu b'Erwemiyaga ne General Rashande kakati nno bano obukubagano bwabwe bwaviirako n'omuntu omu okubanga alugulamu obulamu era nga munnange Honorable Theodore Ssekikubo yategeeza nti ensonga zino munnange zeetaaga okubanga zikwatibwa n'obwegendereza ng'agamba nti abantu abo abaasindikibwa okubanga bakyankalanya embeera ekyaviirako n'omu ku bantu be okubanga alugulamu obulamu baasindikibwa mbu General Rashande kale no munnange ng'agamba nti ensonga zino sofa poliisi ebadde ekyazikutte bulungi naye ate yeewuunya okulaba nga amagye nago weegali ng'agamba nti poliisi yali tennatuuka ku ssa liremererwa ku handolinga nsonga zino wabula yeewuunya nnyo ate okulaba nga munnange amagye nago gasindikiddwa esayidi eyo ng'agamba nti ko tegeetaagisa yo poliisi esobola okuba nga ehandolinga ate ensonga zino naye nno munnange aduumira poliisi yabadde asinkanye abamu ku beesimbyewo era nga mu nsisinkano eno bannamawulire tetwakkiriziddwayo naye Honorable Theodore Ssekikubo yatutegeezezzaako ku ebyo byensobodde okuba nga nkumenyeramenyerako njagala mbe nga ate ntambula nveewaawo updates zaffe nsobole okuba nga nziwunzika olw'ensonga nti omugenyi wange yamaze dda okuba nga atuuka mu kizimbe. Minisita ow'amasannyalaze n'ebyobugagga eby'omutaka Ruth Nankabirwa yagenze maaso ate n'okuba nga ateeka ku nninga ababaka ba Parliament weewaawo n'abakulira poliisi okulaba nga munnange bakola ekimala okulwanyisa obubbi bw'amasannyalaze nga kino nno kiviiriddeko government okuba nga efiirizibwa ensimbi empitirivu. Mu kwogera bino yabadde ate munnange bagenda maaso n'okulaba nga bakuba tooki mu nnaku 10 ez'ekitongole ki UEDCL oba giyite Uganda Electricity Distribution Company Limited kitwala eddimu ly'okuba nga kibunyisa amasannyalaze mu ggwanga lyattu Uganda oba n'ebitundu by'eggwanga eby'enjawulo. Mu nnaku 10 ze baakamala mu office oluvannyuma lw'ekitongole kiwumeme okuba nga kisiibula kati nno munnange batubuulidde bye basobodde okuba nga batuukako okulaba nga babunyisa amasannyalaze mu bitundu by'eggwanga eby'enjawulo so nga ate ebitundu ebirala bakyagenda mu maaso n'okulaba nti nayo batuusaayo amasannyalaze ate n'abaayo basobole okuba nga bagoota buliro. Kale nno munnange nga bagamba nti ebitundu ebimu omuze gw'okubba amasannyalaze gye gubadde gusinze okwegiriisa mulimu Kireka, mulimu Wabigalo, Emijeera n'ebitundu by'eggwanga eby'enjawulo so nno nga bano bagamba nti bagenda kulaba nga bakola ekisoboka kyonna okulaba nga abantu bano abeenyigira mu bubbi bw'amasannyalaze kale bagenda mu maaso n'okuba nga bakwatibwa. Era minisita Ruth Nankabirwa n'ayongera okuba nga ateeka amaanyi ku nsonga eno okulaba nga wabaawo ekikolebwa weewaawo n'abo abakwatiddwa betwalabako ebbanga eriise bano nno baggulwako emisango munnange egy'obutujju misango gya naggomola kale nno munnange nga bw'obanga osangiddwa ate nga obba amasannyalaze naawe ojja kuba nga obonerezebwa mu ngeri emu oba endala. Egguliro eryo njagala nsooke nalyo nno munnange ndiveeko olunaku olw'eggulo nakubuuliddeko ku kakiiko aka PAC bwe kabadde kakunya abatwala eddwaliro ery'e Kawempe olw'abaana abafa olw'okubulwa ebikozesebwa mu ddwaliro eryo. Kakati olunaku olwaleero njagala nkutegeezeeko nti baminisita okuli ow'ebyensi Simbi Matia Kasaija okonnokosa n'ow'ebyobulamu Dr. Ruth Acheng bagenze maaso n'okuba nga bayitibwa bukubirire okulaba nga balabikako mu kakiiko ka Parliament akalondoola ensaasaanya y'ensimbi y'omwoyo w'omusolo kayite aka PAC okulaba nga ate balambulula weewaawo ku mitendera egyayitibwamu okusuumuusa eddwaliro lya Entebbe okutuuka ku mutendera gwa Regional Referral Hospital oba oliawo nga teriweereddwa bikozesebwa. Akakiiko ka PAC munnange okuyita bano basinzidde kwa lipoota ya Ssaababalirizi w'ebitabo bya gavumenti nti eddwaliro lino teririna eddwaliro lino teririna kifo kigwanidde kuterekebwamu ddagala era ng'abasawo mu ddwaliro eryo nabo batono ddala so nno nga kiteeka obulamu bw'abalwadde mu matigga n'okuba nga ebikozesebwa ebimu mu ddwaliro lino ate tebiriiwo so nno bwe batyo abakulu bwe wadde bayitiddwa naye nga njagala mpunzike n'eggulire lyaffe erya munnamateeka amanyiddwa nga Oba ng'onaaweereza ddala egy'obukulu amakulu 38 yasindikiddwa Luzira ate nno munnange agira abeerayo oluvannyuma lw'okulemererwa okubanga asasula ensimbi ate ze yali yanyaga ku yali omulamuzi Professor George Wilson Kanyihamba naye nga ono yalemererwa okuba nti munnange asasula ensimbi ezo. Omulamuzi wa ddaala erisooka Paul Mujuni ategeezezza nti wakati wa October 2022 ne September 2024 mu Bank of Africa mu kibuga Kampala ono nno munnange munnamateeka oba yajjayo ensimbi ezisoba mu bukadde ebibiri ezaateekebwa ku akaunti ya kampuni eya Loy Advocates ono nno ng'ate naye akolera ddala nabo nga kino yakikola mu ngeri yate ey'ekifere wabula ono takkiriziddwa kubanga yeewozaako olw'ensonga nti omusango ogumuvunaanibwa munnange gwa naggomola so n'abanga asindikibwa mu kkomera Luzira gy'aba yeebaka okutuusa ng'ennaku z'omwezi 14 omwezi ogwa July 2025 lwanakomezebwawo okulaba ng'ate ensonga ze nazo zigenda maaso n'okubanga ziwulirwa oba omusango gwe gugenda maaso n'okubanga guwulirwa. Njagala ngende mu kuwumulamuko katono nnyo bwe nkomawo mbe nga negatiddwa ku mugenyi wange olunaku olwaleero. Program ekyali ya Mighty Drive tutambula ffenna okutuuka ku ssaawa 4 ez'amakya ag'olunaku olwaleero. Good morning.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Go to the church, though.
Tawali man, what's up?
Man, can you imagine people just dump everywhere? Someone drinks water and throws the bottle wherever.
Come on, Rogers. What else do you expect people to do with an empty bottle?
Simanya now, recorder. Do you know that plastics take at least 450 years to decompose?
What? That's a long time.
Exactly. Because plastics are made out of a lightweight and flexible material that doesn't decompose easily. And plastics everywhere in the environment cause plastic pollution.
What is plastic pollution now?
It is the accumulation of plastic waste in the environment, like bottles, polythene bags, straws. All of these contribute to plastic pollution.
I have been using them without knowing their effect.
Yeah, a lot of people have. Plastics are a danger to the ecosystem, both on land and in water.
So how can we overcome this problem? Is there something we can do?
Oh yes, we can reduce by minimizing the use of plastics, reuse by repurposing them, or recycle by collecting and processing them into new products.
Everyone wants to change the world, but no one wants to change themselves for the world.
How about we change our habits for the world?
And it starts with me and you.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk.
Hi, Rogers. Can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digital.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Welcome to the show. This is The Mighty Drive, and I am your host, Luwedde Lilian, the Princess. I welcome you on today's edition of The Mighty Drive. We are streaming live on our social media platforms. That is The Alternative Uganda and Digital TV on Facebook, and our YouTube channel is The Alternative Uganda. Like I told you earlier, ensonga z'olwaleero tugenda kuba tuzogera mu Luzungu. So tutunuulira the Balaalo question in northern Uganda. What is it that the public isn't paying attention to? Is it politics at play? Since we are gearing up for the 2026 general elections, what is the situationship at this particular moment? So I welcome you on the Mighty Drive today. Be part of the discussion by joining in and dropping in your comments. I'll be reading them before we come to the end of this show to our guest of the day. But if time allows, we're actually going to be digging in onto the issue of gold in East Africa, because if you guys don't know, Uganda is one of those countries that has gold. So did you really know? Or you're just hearing this in rumors? We have Engineer Tonny Olanya Olenge. I hope I've pronounced your names so well. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, my sister. Good to see you again after a long while.
Yeah, it's been long. I think we've not had you ever since this year began, right?
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Okay. So how have you been and what have you been up to?
I've been fine, going about my programs and business as a citizen of Uganda.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe after the show you're going to cash me.
yeah, sure.
Okay, we have our viewers who are seeing you for the first time, and they would love to know who is Tonny and what does he do. Sorry.
I'm a young man who is civically cautious and aware, meaning I am into the current affairs or the current happenings in this country. I follow so much closely the politics of the country, but I'm as well. I also have other tasks that I do.
Okay.
I currently also do work at the Cultural Institution of Acholi, Kwaro Acholi, as a team lead for research and documentation. But I've always held previous roles there. I'm also a natural resource consultant. That is in the line of my engineering career. Yeah, basically those are the areas that I'm in.
Kagamba, you have a lot of titles and you do a lot of things.
Yeah, it's about versatility. Uganda speciality is a tricky thing in Africa, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
But as a young person, how do you balance all that?
It comes with hard work. I want to retire at 40, so I need to put in some more effort.
Wait, you want to retire at
40?
Oh, and then we have people who are 40 years and have not actually discovered who they are and their purpose at that age, and yet for you, you want to retire.
You know, people set different goals for themselves. So somebody could have said that mine, I want to start my life at 40. They say life begins at 40, but for me, I have targets that at 40, whatever I have achieved should be fairly enough for me to move on with life. you know what I'm trying to say?
Yes,
definitely. Yeah. So that is how I've tried to set mine. But of course, it's not a stagnant arrangement. It's subject to change, and you know. But for now, those are the timelines I've put for myself.
Okay, so let's actually delve into the topical discussion of the day, because it's a broader thing, and there are a lot of controversies on this matter, the Balaalo question in northern Uganda. But for someone who is actually seeing or hearing this for the first time, we would love to get the background of the matter. How did we get to this, and how did it start?
Okay, my sister, you see, when we're discussing the land question or the Balaalo question in northern Uganda, of course, northern Uganda in this context, just for the purpose of this debate, is Acholi sub-region, is West Nile sub-region, and Lamu sub-region. Then when you add Karamoja, they call it the Greater North. Yeah. If you're to put in context, you need to first ask yourself the question that how did this land become vacant? Okay, because that's a very important question, and it also helps to answer some of the grievances that are coming up now.
Okay.
Yeah, because from the onset, it looks like the Balaalo are also victims in this case, but they're victims of a circumstance. They've just found themselves in the mix of so many things. That's why we are trying to also make sure that they understand how these things came about. Predominantly, the Acholi community also, all the community in northern Uganda kept their wealth in land and cattle. Okay? If you look at the 1960s, the 1950s, the 1970s, and the 80s, the livestock industry in northern Uganda was a very big industry. There were even train trucks that would take beef all the way to Europe and all that from the north. And of course, through progressive wars that have been happening in the north, there was this war when I think President Museveni and his team were trying to take over power. Then post that war, there was also another insurgency, the LRA war, Joseph Kony. So a community that has been through war for that long time, cattle was lost. Actually, I think cattle was lost to of course, the records are subject to so many verifications. Others talk about 200,000 plus. Others talk about 400,000 herds of cattle. That's a very large number.
Okay.
Surprisingly, it's on record that the people being accused are the current UPDF officers. Okay, because previously it was NRA, but now they're saying, of course, NRA transition to UPDF. So that is the lot that is being accused for looting cattle from the region. And this is even documented when they formed what they call the war debt claimants. I think you saw elders from Teso coming to Robert Chagulanyi, Honorable Robert Chagulanyi, to demand, to look for political remedy. They also had filed under something called Teso claimants. There was also actually war debt claimants. There was also the Lao war debt claimants. So when they filed, these different entities filed a case against government. That we lost cattle and we are aware your people are the one who took it. Of course, there was propaganda in our area there that the Karamojongs are the ones who looted the cattle. But the cattle was taken by soldiers from the current government. So government, the president felt it was going to be a very heated issue. So he decided to negotiate with the claimants. He requested them for out-of-court settlement, where these people agreed that, okay, fine, we'll go for out-of-court settlement. And government agreed to compensate them, meaning government is pleading guilty that indeed we took the cattle. So the government accepts and the negotiation begins. And then you now see the series of the bureaucracy and the drag and pull. Every election cycle, they come and tell you are paying now in the next
we're going to be paying in the next term.
And the terms have been progressively moving. And it's very, very disheartening that you see most of the elders are dying. The old people, they have not gotten back their cattle. And what hurts is after every 5 years, you see, maybe after every 5 years, if you are demanding for 1,000 cows, after every 5 years they give you maybe 1 cow. They pay 1.
Out of the 1,000.
Yes, that is like giving you 1. That is like giving you a leg of your cow. Because after 5 years they're giving you 1, yet you've lost a lot. That is how the restocking has failed progressively. Of course, some of us now believe it's a deliberate ploy by people within government.
Okay.
Because now we've seen it. Okay. So we've seen the narrative coming, the build-up. Okay.
So you're insinuating that there is someone who is benefiting.
It looks to be a syndicate because cattle was taken, you accepted that you're the ones who took, you opted for out-of-court settlement, and then the processes have been stagnant within the Ministry of Justice.
And I believe you have MPs in your area MPs. Haven't they done anything about this matter?
The MPs have been trying to make as much noise as possible. Of course, MPs, they can do much.
Because we have the Acholi caucus.
As politicians, they can their role is to speak for the people, advocate. But they've done the advocacy to a level that it has become a song. Okay, there's not been good political will from the government to pay the cattle for the Acholi, for Teso warded claimants, even for the Lango people. That has been the issue. Now, after the war, LRA came in also.
Yes.
25 years plus of insurgency. Of course, still you blame it on government, because if you're already in power, you have the mandate and the responsibility to take care of people and their property.
Yes.
So government failed on
and that is what the NRM government has promised us.
Yes, I'm telling you, government of NRM failed on the end to protect the people of Acholi from the rebels, from the insurgency. Okay? Because if you are in government, you are mandated to take care of people and
but the
their
government
lives.
has been
Now,
just stamping that they actually
25 years of war is failure on their end. Okay? I will tell you that even government did not want to negotiate for peace. There was a lot of push from the likes of Norbert Mao. Okay? There was a lot of push from the leaders in Acholi, like Professor
Was government benefiting from this?
Of course, you know, war is business. There were commanders in the UPDF who did not want the war to end. Okay? And during the same LRA war, much as the rebels were killing people, a lot of atrocities were also committed by government soldiers.
Let's go back on that issue. So
I'm giving you the grievances that has built up. So now,
no, let's first clear this about the war. You're saying that government failed because if they spent 25 years without actually doing something on the matter, I want to believe they did something. That it's that you're not acknowledging what they did. However much it took time or it took long, but at least something was done.
Yes, government did their part, but it wasn't enough. And I'm also telling you, there were commanders who were frustrating government.
And you say
there were military commanders who were frustrating government.
It was though that government was benefiting from this. Why would the government benefit?
The war was good business for soldiers within the UPDF. So they were representing government. They were holding the badge of Uganda, not so. So on whose authority would I not say that it is government that was failing the war itself? There were people, and their reports, they know it themselves, there are reports that stipulate clearly how people were dragging feet on the war. I've spoken to people who were in charge of the ministry by that time. Yes, I've had a chance to speak to a number of close sources who were telling me how the war was being frustrated. Okay, where commanders were inflating the numbers of soldiers so that government would spend more money in the war. Okay, so that context is not something they contest. So post the war, of course, I want to appreciate the leadership in Acholi, especially the cultural leadership and then the religious leadership that took a front line to push the president. Okay, because it was a very hard call for the government of Uganda to commit to have the peace process begin, okay, with the rebels to negotiate. There was a hard line that we were going to fight. And of course, the war was dragging on, just like I told you. So post the LRA war, but of course, even during the LRA war, what government did, which was also a mess, which disorganized the Acholi society, the more, because it also brings in the land question after the settlement from the camps. Government put the people of Acholi in what we call the internally displaced camps. Okay. Now the refugee camps that you see in Kiriandongo, in Lamour, are different.
Settlement.
Those are different. Those are different from the camps that we were in. I was in the camps myself. Those camps were like they would put you in a house like this, okay, and then allocate for you spaces. So it was like a settlement, okay, a settlement. So that means if fire catches one grass thatch house, the whole camp can burn, and which happened several times. The argument government put there was that we are putting you in the camps, forcefully, by the way, because the people actually did not want to go to the camps. Government said we are putting in the camps purposefully to protect you from the LRA rebels. But that failed because so many camps were attacked by the LRA, okay? So the real purpose of taking people to the camps did not actually come out clearly. But for us, we saw it as a way of disorganizing and destroying the social fabric of the Acholi society. Because the generation of children that came from the IDPs, majority are messed up. So it is a generational crisis now that we have. That is why if you watch a documentary that was done by, I think, either BBC or one of the big platforms, it talks about the brilliant genocide. It is a systematic approach to disorganize the society. Okay? The society was broken down systematically in a very deep line.
Okay.
So post-war, then we see the post-war reconstruction and recovery programs coming in. Of course, there were good programs that were drafted on paper. There was push to have the reparation law passed by that time. Government sat on it. There was no goodwill because reparation means government would commit to pay the war victims some percentage, and definitely also the international community would come in and all that. Okay, but there should be commitment on the government side. Government refused to put effort. Even up to now, the reparation law and the National Transitional Justice Bill, I believe Chairman Mao, as the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, is properly getting frustrated. Because by now, we've not seen anything. Not so. We would have expected, how long has he been minister? In any case, he understands these issues proper. Okay? The war in northern Uganda has not ended. There's just what we call silence of the gun, but the war has taken different shapes. Shapes in terms of poverty, shapes in terms of loss of cultural values, the breakdown of the society, the total social fabric breakdown. So war has taken different forms. War has gone into issues of the post-traumatic stress disorders, the mental health issues.
PTSD.
Those are all forms of war that have taken in now. Poverty is another form of war that has taken part in the region. So it's a vulnerable community.
Okay.
And I'm giving this build-up because many people have taken what the president has been trying to address out of context. That's why I've been trying to labor to give you this breakdown. Now, post-war, there was reconstruction programs. Money was poured in by the agencies, international community, even government put in money. We saw PRDP come in 1, 2, we saw NUSAF 1, 2, 3. NUSAF was bastardized. NUSAF has been pushed up to Busoga and some other parts of the country that is not part of northern Uganda that all did not go through the war. So you look at a situation where now you've not been through the war. The program is for the war construction, but you are also pushing to have it in other places. You'll see vehicles of NUSAF in Busoga and other places that were benefiting. I'm not saying I have problems with people from Busoga, but I'm saying the program was meant for post-war reconstruction and recovery.
Yeah.
It was messed up. We even saw, you've heard about Inspire Africa. The first money that Inspire Africa got was from NUSAF 3 project to build these coffee centers. Okay? And so the scam that was involved is even more disheartening because this was meant to help
all this
the
is
young
happening
people.
And the people of northern Uganda are
We've been
benefiting.
We have been seeing.
Wasn't there a committee set aside to handle these people? To
handle the post-war recovery. The post-war recovery was being spearheaded by government and of course other stakeholders like the Acholi Religious Peace Leaders Initiative.
Because now, if we have these international communities coming in, wasn't there a community, a committee set aside to at least address the issues you guys were raising that we were going through to the international community to at least step in and do something about the matter? You
see, the international community operated in two ways. They put money in government's pool, but also they had their own operational line. Okay, there were NGOs that were trying to help, like say in the restoration of the cultural leadership and all that. Okay, but there was the biggest funds was put in the government intervention arrangement. Okay, but most importantly, coming to the post-war programs like NUSAF 3. I think NUSAF is now coming to NUSAF 4. Okay, in NUSAF 3 is when we saw this Inspire Coffee Africa. I was in Gulu myself. I saw the project. If you see what they've built, what the Nelson Tugumes have built in Gulu, it is actually a broken structure. The roof is leaking. There's no business. There's nothing going on. And then when they came even to give accountability to the Public Accounts Committee in Parliament, you know what they said? That they spent about 3 billion plus, and the other 3 billion was used to train young people on how to drink coffee from northern Uganda. Do you teach people how to drink coffee? Really? So they spent 3 billion, which was meant
Ugandans
for such a
need to
project
be
for
taught how
young
to
people
drink coffee.
to be taught how to drink coffee. Just drinking, like being taught how to drink milk. Does it really make sense? So that's the level of industrial looting that happens up to now with the post-war reconstruction programs. PRDP, you saw how money was being looted and how it was being mismanaged from the office of the Prime Minister. Then Prime Minister Mam Babazi was questioned by Parliament on how they were using money to buy new Benz cars for his convoy, yet the people of the North were dying, okay? There was a lot that needed to be done. So now that build-up of the problem continued with the post-war. I've told you how the background of how the cattle was taken and the compensations told. That is how the land remained vacant. And there was also intra-land conflicts because elders were killed during the war. Young people like us who were born in the IDP camps do not know the land boundaries. Yes. So post-war, you return and start with
nothing. You start from
with
zero.
nothing, and then you are fighting for land boundaries internally there. So now, then we started seeing other people showing interest in the land. Before the Balaalo came in, there was this, there were cattle farmers, there were cultivators also, commercial farmers.
Yes.
You see them in Noya, in Amoro. You see the likes of Madivani coming in, see the likes of Atiak Sugar Works, big projects.
Yeah.
Those ones settle in and they're doing their projects.
The business and projects, yeah.
And I'm giving that in context because
it's also
there's been a narrative that the people are being chased from the north, but there's a specific group that is having issues, okay? Because there are people who are doing farming and they're not having any problem. So then we see 10 years back or 8 years back, depending on the timing, the cattle farmers start coming in.
Those are the
the ones they now start to refer to as the Balaalo. Of course, the Balaalo are not a tribe, okay? It's just, I think, a description from what I understand, or a word they used to name a certain group of people.
Yeah.
So it's just a collection of cattle farmers, people who are interested in breeding their cattle, okay? Of course, it has a dimension of cultural complexities because they come from diverse entities, okay?
Yeah.
And even the citizenship is also mixed. Others who came from Tanzania, others who came from Rwanda, others who came from DRC, others who came from Uganda, others are Ugandans.
So how did they come? Did they come with, did they come loaded, or they just came and then did a survey and then they were like, okay, now let's settle in here? How did they come?
The Balaalo, of course, you see, the land has remained vacant. I've given you context and I've told you, some of the people who are in, majority of the people who are in government are aware of the facts that there's been war, there's land remaining here, and this and that, and they know the price.
There's free land.
So they have been part of this city. So they've been part of this situation. So you'll find the people who are now taking the cattle there are people who are in government, ministers, big people in the military, and all that and all that.
They're the ones who are taking the cattle.
They're the real Balaalo. The real Balaalo are in Kampala. The ones on the ground in Gulu or in Lao, in other areas, are basically people who are taking care of cattle.
The real Balaalo.
The real owners of the cows.
The real owners of the cows are in Kampala.
Are in the ACs in Kampala. Okay? Yes.
And the people on the other side?
Are basically people who are taking care of, like herders, cattle herders. They're just moving around with the cattle on the ground. So, then issues started coming. Of course, the people welcomed them. Actually, people welcomed them in the
because
area.
I wanted to find out how was the reception.
The
like
reception,
how were they received?
the reception was very good. That's why the migration or the movement, the trek to the north became a very big mass movement. Okay, it became a good hotspot.
Okay.
The grass is there. The land is empty and vast. And when I mean vast land, I mean you drive square kilometers of land or of area that you don't see even a house or you don't see any settlement. So there is just enough grazing land. So it was an opportunity for the cattle farmers to breed their cows or to fatten them. Majority were fattening the cows and bringing them to Kampala and they slaughter. It was a big project because you would buy a cow maybe at 500,000, a small one. Within maybe a short while, you're able to sell it at 4 million, 3 million, okay?
Yeah.
So that means it was a good business, and the grass is there. Now the contention came in on how they acquired the land, okay? Because customarily land is owned customarily among the Acholi people.
Yes.
It's a shared space. You will not find somebody owning all the square miles of land. Well, you could have a situation where other people claim that I own these square kilometers of land, but when you dig deep, you'll find that this is a previous grazing land that used to be for a community. Remember, there were cows those days. So now they don't have cows. So people start claiming ownership. But all these lands are managed by the
people claiming,
leadership.
sorry to cut you short, the people claiming ownership, did they have land titles?
No.
They didn't have anything.
No
so
titles.
how did they claim ownership of that land when they don't even have any document to back them up?
Now, what happened, what emerged when this issue became, because land is a very big resource and a very big factor of production.
Yes.
So when this space remained vacant, there were also land brokers came in. Land dealers came in and said, okay, fine, we're going to hit up for this. So then they started what we could call the scramble and partition, running to grab space and claim ownership. I've given you the background of the intra-land conflicts that have happened before.
No.
And there were elders that died, and so many people don't know some of the boundaries and the history of the land. So what we mean by customary land, these are lands that are used communally, like the grazing land, the hunting grounds, very many kind of categories. So then people started coming in, they came in. Of course, there are others who argue that they bought land legitimately, which is subject to verification. And there are also groups that scrupulously got land. There were others who are renting, there are others who claim they bought the land. And the other thing that was done very wrongly is people were converting
we're leasing land to the
so
Balaalo.
let's say somebody buys land, then they register it and then convert it from the customary tenureship. They convert the tenureship. They convert from customary. They move it to freehold, to leasehold. Then they move it to freehold. Basically, I think those who drafted the Constitution of Uganda created the land tenure system in a way that if I am under the Milo land system, it is a standalone system. I don't need to convert it. It must not be converted. But the guys were finding shortcuts through the lawyers and try to and I believe the verification committee would handle that.
Let me ask you this question as well. Is there a process that one has to go through if they want to acquire land in northern Uganda? And what is that process? The question is, did these Balaalo go through all those processes? Because we have those that are insinuating that they acquired land legally.
Let me make this context clearly. The Balaalo, not all are bad. There are just a few bad apples also. Because there are others who are living well with the community, there are others who claim they got land.
There are those who have been there for some good time, 10 years and more.
I've integrated very well. But there are also bad apples, okay? The challenge has been that when you report these bad apples to their members, they don't want to take action on their internal whipping. They don't want to do that, okay? They themselves failed to manage themselves. Before this issue started coming up, of course there were efforts. Even me, I made efforts to reach out to their leadership, okay? But
to get to know how these people are acquiring land and the process they're going through.
To advise them even firstly how to integrate and live harmoniously with the host community, okay? So, on the issue of land acquisition, there are clear procedures, okay? One, customary ownership means that the land is governed according to the customs of the people. Okay? In any case, it means that the customs will dictate who will get the land. So if our custom says customary land or the grazing land is only managed and owned by the Acholi people, it is our custom. Okay? And this custom might have not been written as part of the constitution. Okay? So I guess you're seeing the dynamics. And in the custom, when you speak to the elders, they say the customary land that you see here, there was blood spilled over it. We did not get this land for free. During the migration and integration, those days, when you look at the Luo migration, the Bantu migration and all that, people were fighting for what? For territory, not so? Territorial fights, for conquer. So people, that land that you see there was blood spilled over it. So the elders have been passing it over for generations. Now, The context here is this land is owned by 3 categories of people. According to our custom, that's why they say customary tenureship. Land managed according to the customs of the people.
Yeah.
So our land is managed by 3 categories of people, because I think you've had the notion that it cannot be sold. Not so.
Yeah.
Now, the notion it cannot be sold comes from the perspective that it is governed by 3 groups of people. That the ones who are alive currently, like us, our generation,
Yes.
we are simply keeping it as custodians for the future generation, those yet to be born. Okay? And we got it from those who have passed on.
Yes.
So if you were to buy that land, and the transaction stands, you needed to have consulted the 3 categories, which is not possible. You cannot consult those who are yet to be born, you don't know them. You can't in any way consult those who have passed on.
But
So
they can
those
consult you.
those were the caveats that were put by the cultural
They can consult
setting.
you who are here.
Now, you see, that's the dynamics. That there are people who think that they can maneuver and bypass it. You can't consult me only when there are people who are supposed to be consulted.
Because now the next
You can't
generation has not yet come, and
Yes.
then the past generation
So
is
the
gone.
elders,
So
the
only
elders
people
who
that
set
are
up
here.
this tradition, the elders who set up this tradition years back, did it in such a way that this is one of the best governance systems to keep land for the next generation. That is why the land has been as you see it. It's not because there was no possibility to run around it. But I told you clearly that there were people who felt like we can maneuver and get away with it in the law.
But there are those that are leasing it, and how are they actually doing?
Leasing is okay.
And then there's a lady that I saw. She said that she sold her land because she needed money to take care of her family. She didn't have money, but then she had land. So she felt like, if I sell this land, I'll get the money to take care of my family. But then now you're saying, for one to sell land, they have to go through all that entire process. Consult from the future generation and the past generation that are not here.
There's even been a court ruling from the Supreme Court, because the district land board, some district land boards, especially that of Nuea and Amur, thought that they could give out customary land. They could lease out customary land. That's the district land board.
So the people
and the court was very clear, the Supreme Court was very clear. Customary land cannot be sold.
And then we have people who are saying that they acquired land legally.
There are people who are saying we acquired land legally, or there was a willing seller, willing buyer. You see, that narrative will not hold water. That narrative will not hold water. That is what we would call civic arrogance. Civic arrogance, where you think you can argue on the basis of law and you win on this case.
But this person acquired land from a local that side. They didn't just wake up in the morning and then go to the chairman or these other leaders without actually getting to that person who owns the land at this particular moment.
The contestation is not on private land. The contestation is on vast community land, vast customary land, okay? Which I've told you, this used to be used as hunting grounds. They used to be used as grazing grounds, okay? These are cultural sites, you know? So the contestation is not on my 1 acre.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not on my 1 acre that I do my farming and all that. No. The contestation is in the communal land or the clan land. Because you'd find that where they say that they sold it, they bought it legally, you'll find that you have 10 people, or you have 1,000 people in the clan, and maybe 2 scrupulous dealers in the clan decided to put themselves as the representative of the clan and sell the land. You've not consulted all
So now who are we blaming? And you're supposed to be blaming the clan members?
The blame is two-way.
Why are you shifting the blame to the Balaalo?
The blame is two-way. The Balaalos are also victims of the circumstance, of the build-up that I've given you. They have just met a vulnerable community, and they're dealing with a community that thinks there can be a way out. Okay? The Balaalo did not understand the context that I've given you at the beginning when they were coming. For them, they thought this was just grass and it is cows.
Is it that the locals are playing ping-pong games to the Balaalo?
The locals, I've
Because
given you the background.
If someone has sold you the land, and then after some time they're like, oh, actually these people acquired land illegally,
we will not even get to this complex situation if things were done right from the times of the post-war reconstruction programs, okay? if the compensation was done, there would be no vacant land. If everything was handled well, this is a build-up of problems. The Balaalo have found themselves in the mix. And the other context is, the people of Acholi now have started to realize that, in any case, these are the people part of government. And in any case, it looks like they were part of the syndicate to create this whole situation around us. So now it has created more anger. I'm going to hold you there for a minute, and then we break. So when we return, you're going to be telling us more about this issue of the Balaalo question. Now we would also want to know why the president issues executive orders, but then nothing is actually being done. Let's break shortly. It's still the Mighty Drive. You can be part of the discussion by joining in and dropping in your questions or your comments. I'm going to be reading them before we come to the end of the show. It is the Mighty Drive. Good morning.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
But at the church, though.
Tawali man, what's up?
Man, can you imagine people just dump everywhere? Someone drinks water and throws the bottle wherever.
Come on, Rogers. What else do you expect people to do with an empty bottle?
Simanye now, recorder. Do you know that plastics take at least 450 years to decompose?
What? That's a long time.
Exactly. Because plastics are made out of a lightweight and flexible material that doesn't decompose easily. And plastics everywhere in the environment cause plastic pollution.
What is plastic pollution now?
It is the accumulation of plastic waste in the environment, like bottles, polythene bags, straws. All of these contribute to plastic pollution.
I have been using them without knowing their effect.
Yeah, a lot of people have. Plastics are a danger to the ecosystem, both on land and in water.
So how can we overcome this problem? Is there something we can do?
Oh yes, we can reduce by minimizing the use of plastics, reuse by repurposing them, or recycle by collecting and processing them into new products.
Everyone wants to change the world, but no one wants to change themselves for the world.
How about we change our habits for the world?
And it starts with me and you.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk.
The Ugandan National Museum, a place where unforgettable memories are created. Traditions are found and a connection to our Pearl is reinforced. It is not only a testimony to the history of our nation, but also impacts knowledge of cultural and natural heritage to the present and future generations for their enjoyment. Through a variety of activities and exhibitions, we gather to discover our traditions and create new ones. The Uganda Museum is our country's cultural icon that makes it accessible for the next generations to come together as our story unfolds and represents the interplay of our country's past and present. It is in our history, but also in how it has evolved to embrace optical satisfaction and new influences. Our identity as a country is not only a moment in time, but also a journey of where we have been, where we are, and where we are going. We invite you to experience the authentic heritage, rich history of Uganda. Welcome to the Uganda National Museum.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk. The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. It's still the Mighty Drive, and I am Princess Luwedde Lilian. And now in the studios, I am with Olanya Tonny Olanya Olenge. He's a natural resource consultant. We're actually digging into the issue of the Balaalo question in northern Uganda. To some people, they think that it's just politics at play, but we would love to know, is it really politics at play? What is it that we are actually not seeing? What is the hidden agenda of actually the locals saying that, you know what, we're actually tired of you, you should leave our area? So I'm coming back to you, but before we actually get into that, let me tell our viewers on the platforms that we are streaming live on. That is the Alternative Uganda on Facebook and Digitalk TV. Just drop in your comments, I'm going to be reading them. Drop in those questions that you would love actually our guest of the day to tell us about what is happening in northern Uganda. We've had executive orders, but then a lot has not happened. But then we have actually some of the leaders that are in charge of the Balaalo in northern Uganda saying that the president is misled. There's a lot of information he's not given, and then he makes these executive orders basing on one side of the story, that he has not had their side of the story to tell him that, you know what, this is what is happening, or this is what is happening in northern Uganda, or this is what they're not telling you. So we are going to be hearing from our guest of the day on what is actually happening. Is it politics at play? Is it that there's something hidden that us, the Ugandans, are not actually told on what is happening on ground? I'm back to you.
Basically, I've seen strategists or people who are crusading from the Balaalo side, thinking the legal remedy would help. I think that is like beating dead meat. This is not a legal question, by the way. I've given you the legal perspective.
But they've run to the courts of law to at least...
They stand no chance. I've given you the background. They stand no chance legally. That's the truth. They stand no chance legally on every ground.
But these are all Ugandans who are free to settle anywhere they feel like.
Yes,
because they are Ugandans.
Yes.
One of them was actually asking now for the northern the Acholis who are in western Uganda. Should we also do the same thing?
Let me give you context.
Let me give you context.
Minister Raphael Majezi has bought land in where he's farming. Has anybody disturbed him? No. Emmanuel Dombo is farming that side. Has anybody disturbed him? No. And very many other people. Okay? And very many other people. And then the context is, I have seen a situation of guilt tripping. They're trying to isolate and point at Acholi leaders. This is not only in Acholi. This implementation is being done in Lao. There are complaints from Lango. The president of UPC, Jimmy Akena, who is the former first son, has been complaining. He has been saying that the Balaalo also invaded their farm, their family farm. Okay? They've taken over the ranch. So, the context is not only in Acholi. It is happening in West Nile, Lango, and Karamoja. But the heat of the moment is being placed on one sub-region, which is Acholi. And I understand the context, because there are deeper lenses towards it. Okay, there's the natural resource angle to it, in terms of minerals and oil and gas. Okay, very, very serious one. Okay. And then there are angles towards, of course, the fertile land and for other commercial use. So we should not confuse this approach that is being taken to resolve this matter. This is not a legal question that can be handled legally in any case. Okay. Two, I think to me this is a matter of economics. Okay, because there's money involved, and this is a matter of the social understanding of society, because there are questions on how the different cultural settings have played out negatively towards the settlement of the Balaalo there. Okay, literally they have failed to integrate or to understand, and these are not all of them. Some of them have failed to integrate with the community. So the problems are being handled at a political level. I don't think the president does not understand the legal angle to it, and I think he would have assessed it thoroughly. Now, you've asked the question that why is it that the president has been passing all his executive orders? I think the president has had a good will to resolve this question. The president, being a Mulalo himself, is a chief Mulalo according to the words that was used by the spokesperson of the Balaalo yesterday on one of the platforms we're on.
Yeah.
He said the president is the chief Mulalo in this case. So I asked him, I said, if the president is chief Mulalo, that means the chief Mulalo knows you better. Just 2-3 days back, the president issued another tweet, not so? In his tweet, he was clearly blunt and sharp, and he said, the Balaalo are very arrogant groups. He himself. These are not my words. This is the president's word. Okay? And somebody they call the chief Mulalo. So if the president is issuing this directive, I believe the president knows exactly what to do. I believe the president knows his people. Because these are people,
but
these are people who are interlinked in terms of cultural background from Rwanda.
Let me add this for you.
DRC,
Mr. Daniel Barichi, he's the coordinator of the Balaalo.
Yes, he's the one who called the president Chief Mulalo.
Yes, he said some time back that the president is misled. Issuing these executive orders, he has actually not had their side of the story.
It's okay. I think the president has given them a chance and has said, we are going to have a verification committee. So the verification committee is not going to listen to the ions of only the local community. I think there will be groups they will listen to. They will listen to the civil society, they will listen to religious leaders, the cultural leadership, they will listen to the Balaalo, they will listen to the affected communities, okay? Then they will give the recommendations to the president. And I believe the verification committee will have the Balaalo leadership also as part of. Are we off?
Wow.
We're off, right?
Go to the church, though.
Tawali man, what's up?
Man, can you imagine people just dump everywhere? Someone drinks water and throws the bottle wherever.
Come on, Rogers. What else do you expect people to do with an empty bottle?
Simanya now, do you know that plastics take at least 450 years to decompose?
What? That's a long time.
Exactly. Because plastics are made out of a lightweight and flexible material that doesn't decompose easily. And plastics everywhere in the environment cause plastic pollution.
What is plastic pollution now?
It is the accumulation of plastic waste in the environment, like bottles, polythene bags, straws. All of these contribute to plastic pollution.
I have been using them without knowing their effect.
Yeah, a lot of people have. Plastics are a danger to the ecosystem, both on land and in water.
So how can we overcome this problem? Is there something we can do?
Oh yes, we can reduce by minimizing the use of plastics, reuse by repurposing them, or recycle by collecting and processing them into new products.
Everyone wants to change the world, but no one wants to change themselves for the world.
How about we change our habits for the world?
And it starts with me and you.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk.
So sorry about that incident, but we are still having Engineer Olanya Olenge Tonny. Yeah, we're actually delving into the issue of the Balaalo question in Acholi and some parts of northern Uganda. He's actually sharing with us what the situationship is at this particular moment. But we would love to actually get to understand about the executive orders. Why are we still having issues between the two, between the Balaalo and then the locals? And then we get to hear from him about the cultural leaders. How have they worked upon this matter for the locals to stay to actually stay calm, because I believe their voice matters?
The president has passed series of executive orders, okay? We've seen last year there was an executive order number 3 of 2024, something like that. Then this year we saw another one. Basically, by the president issuing executive orders, he is passing a vote of no confidence on the established structures of government that's supposed to do their job.
Okay.
Meaning that that is the highest level of authority that should even be questioned by anybody. But over time, we've seen these executive orders being sat on because the implementers are the affected people. The implementers of the executive order are the ones who have been frustrating the president's goodwill. So to me, I believe the president had goodwill to protect the community, the vulnerable community. The North is still vulnerable, as I've given you the background.
Yeah.
Basically, we're like 50 years behind other parts of the country. The war locked us up for over 25 years out of the country. We're like in a different country. I've seen other people arguing that we use the war as a scapegoat. These are facts. The war is not a scapegoat. If you've not been through war, you will not know. War does not end by the end of by the silence of the gun. So the president has been trying to understand the human intelligence of the people in the North who have gone through a lot and are trying to recover. And he is aware that these monies were looted. There has not been any reconstruction program in this case. So when he's passing this kind of executive orders, he's exercising his mandate as a citizen also to protect a vulnerable group. As a president mandated by the Constitution to protect a vulnerable group. So this issue is not a contestation between the Acholis and the Balaalo. It's a contestation between government and the Balaalo. Government, in this case, trying to protect a vulnerable group.
Or the government is on your side, is protecting the vulnerable group, not the Balaalo. But then the locals are saying that the government is actually protecting the Balaalo, a reason as to why the president issues executive orders, but then nothing much is done.
Well, the president is being put to test. At least for these executive orders, we've seen some level of implementation. There are people who have been living with their cows, okay? And it has been clear in its directive that there will be verification. So if you got everything right, there will be a process that you will go through. So there is no...
With the background you told us of how one has to acquire land that side, are there people going to stand any chances?
Well, we will cross the river when we reach there. For now, let us be patient, follow the executive order, vacate the land. There will be a verification committee set. The earlier we do it, the better. That is what I know as of now.
Okay.
And then the instances whereby the implementers of the executive order, like in this case, the army that has been tasked, has gone into loggerheads. I've noted threats and intimidations to the highest and to the lowest levels. Ministers being intimidated. A case in point, I've tried to intimidate Dr. Mona, who is the Minister of Northern Uganda. I think all of you have seen this. You know, sometimes when you mention it, it is not like you're trying to accuse someone. I've seen the person. We no
longer want the Balaalo in Northern Uganda.
I've seen the person of the CDF, who is the first son, General Muhoozi, going as far as calling the minister an idiot. Okay, I think that was very uncouth of him. If that was an intimidation ploy, I think that was weak. Coming from a person of his caliber, because you know in the order of national precedence, the CDF is supposed to salute a minister. You know that. So why would you go and abuse a minister appointed by your president, who is the commander-in-chief, and your father in this case? So I think it was bad precedence, because they're the implementers of this. So basically, he's passing a vote of no confidence or trying to tell us that his father is not in charge of the government.
Do you think this issue is being politicized as we gear up for the 2026 general elections?
Well, I think the president knows what to do. If he has not been doing the right thing, he should know that the North, the North of this country, voted NRM on one question. O voted the president on one question. I've given you the background of the mistrust. And the mistrust started right from the days even in the what? When the president was working with the likes of Obote and all that. So there's been built up mistrust in the region, from Lango, from West Nile, from Acholi. So the North voted on the question that can we trust this government again? Because the trust was lost. If you remember the negotiation for peace in Nairobi, when those of Ambassador Balaalo
yes,
were given a deception by the president, by Rebel Museveni by that time, when they had gone to negotiate. They had told them we're not moving, we're not advancing towards Kampala and all that. So there was a peace that was being negotiated in Nairobi, which they maneuvered through, they outmaneuvered those guys. So now there is mistrust up to now. But when they were voting in 2021, there was a question being asked in the community that can we trust the NRM? And so the president must know that the region, Northern Uganda, is not a bloc support. It's a region on just a wave, on a pendulum. It's swinging like this. It's like a swing state, what you call in the US. So it's not a stable ground. And so you must know that everything that is done, or everything that has been going on for the past 5 years, has been to answer the question of trust. So when you see Northern Uganda voting against the region, you should not be shocked. At least I would have told you here. The people are having a question of trust on the government. Okay. And this is a very loud question. And I think the president was trying to address himself to these kind of situations, okay? Because he has positioned himself as someone who has the goodwill for the people, but maybe the people around him are the ones who have been frustrating his goodwill. So we will leave it to a test of time, okay?
Okay.
But also he should know that the Balaalo eviction should not be a ploy for the 2026 election, because there are issues beyond the Balaalo question,
okay,
which must be resolved. Issues of land compensation, issues of natural resource governance, okay? The issues. The Acholis have issues on the issue of oil and gas. They have not understood what is happening in the oil and gas sector. They only hear about Oyema Oil City, Albertine Graben, Bunyoro Oil City, whatever the case.
On that point...
So there are deep-seated questions, issues of reparation. There should be compensation for war victims. There should be the process of truth-telling. This government committed atrocities in the North. They have not yet gone there to accept the mistakes they have done. People were raped. Men were raped. People were killed. There were massacres. So there are issues that need to be handled by this government beyond the Balaalo question.
Yes, but let me bring back the other question that someone raised some time back, that you're using the war as an scapegoat. Is it true? Because according to what you're saying, you actually you refer us back to the war, I
gave you the background of where the issue is coming from. You need to understand the context. You need to understand the context very well. If you go to the North, you will see the vulnerability I'm talking about. So for somebody to come and say, willing seller, willing buyer, this is just a desperate community that is trying to survive from hand to mouth.
Let me read this comment for you from Nachenerita. Thank you so much for watching. She says, truth be told, leaders like Otto Odong should be tamed too. We should all agree that there are some errant Balaalo, but some leaders in northern Uganda are bad-mannered. Baganda, Basoga and other business people have been tortured and mistreated for doing business in the area. Let's say the business they do are illegal. Where does Otto get the audacity to mistreat fellow Ugandans? By this, we see that some leaders are using Balaalo issue to torment other Ugandans. Should Baganda also do the same to non-Baganda in Buganda?
Well, I've heard of those accusations. I've even seen Council Mabirisi go on rampage, especially yesterday and today. Personally, I think they are trying to refer to the push that Honorable Dongato and some environmental activists were pulling because there were issues. I told you issues of also deforestation had become big. Charcoal from Acholi was moving as far as China. They were being exported for making toothpaste and all that, okay? So I will tell you for a fact that there was the Executive Order number 3 of 2024 covered the issues of what? The issues of charcoal. Okay, Balaalo was one of them, but the issue of deforestation, the president banned commercial production and sale of charcoal. So what does it mean? It meant that there was supposed to be enforcement by government. Government failed to do its enforcement. So in the event that the locals started to use the law or put the laws in their hands, I think that was also failure on government side, because how do you sit on a presidential executive order in the first place? Okay, so it was failure on the government side, and I've heard of some of the complaints. Okay, I've heard of the complaints like you've heard. I have not been there to attest whether they really happened. Okay, but I've had such concerns, and if they really happen, I think I strongly condemn any kind of violence or any kind of torture inflicted on anyone, because I believe everyone should be treated fairly. You know.
Okay.
Yeah, in any case, if they had gone outside the law, they should have been put through the because you have a right to arrest somebody and hand them over to police, but not to be the judge, be the arresting person and all that. You know, you cannot be the prosecutor and the judge in the same case. So that's why they create these legal parameters. So that is how best I can answer that context, you know.
Okay. So the two sides, how best can they work together, work hand in hand without each party inciting violence?
Which sides?
The Balaalo and then the locals.
I've been giving advice to the Balaalo. Unfortunately, majority don't listen, including Bariche, my good friend. I made deliberate efforts, and I've told him, why don't you form your association in time? Call your members to order when they commit problems. Before it even is reported to leaders in Acholi, you can crack the whip internally. And they are failed.
Because there are those that are saying that they have nowhere to go.
Where
they
did
have
they come
their
from?
cattle, but they have nowhere to go.
Where did they come from? And in any case, I've had the tribal... And
I was listening into someone who said that I was invited by my Acholi friend, and when I came, I acquired land and started doing my business. But now the executive order, the president is
that they shouldn't worry.
Us to evict.
The president is saying for now, because there was building up. There was a build up for violence, by the way. The local people were going to attack these farms.
And that is why
so the president was trying to solve a quick remedy. Okay, that let's first get everyone out and verify. Okay.
But I believe this process is going to take time. But then we have people who have their cattle.
But the president was clear.
Go?
The president was clear. He knows these people. He knows where they come from. Where did they come from? They have homes. They have land somewhere else.
There are those who are even crying on TV saying we have nowhere to go.
What they are going to do in the north, they are going to do fattening. It's not like they don't have a home ground where they have space. They are going to do fattening. Okay? I've told you, they have gone to do fattening.
And then there is someone who was saying that this is a tribal campaign.
It's not a tribal campaign. I don't know why. Firstly, the Balaalo are not a tribe. So why is it a tribal campaign? Between
the people of northern Uganda
and
it's simple. It's simple. Western
if it's a tribal campaign, then it should have been it should have been a tribe. Let's say they say Banyankole versus Acholi. Okay, but this is a term that is referenced, which is not even a tribe. The Balaalo are just a concoction of people. They are a group of people from different parts of the country, of East Africa. Others from Rwanda, others from Congo, others from Tanzania, others from Uganda. So when did it become tribal? When they were chasing them? Why did it become tribal when they were chasing them from Tanzania? They were evicted. President, I forget the name, he evicted them from Tanzania. From Congo, the same thing. They came, the ones who came from Tanzania went to Bulisa. They were pushed away. And among the reasons why those ones were pushed away from Bulisa, which is the group that went to Acholi, is one. When they came, that's why I said there's also the angle of natural resource governance to their settlement. Okay? When they came in Bulisa, they did not acquire as just any other part of the land in Bulisa. They came and picked strategic access land, strategic areas that they had prior information that there would be the crude oil pipeline passing through, oil infrastructures were going to be set through. So when compensation for the oil pipe project started in Bunyoro, there was an uproar. Actually, that is one of the reasons why the Balaalo were pushed from the biggest reason why they were pushed from Bulisa. Okay, the issue of oil was what pushed them from Bulisa. The biggest reason, from what I can tell you. because they'd acquired all these spaces. So the president made an intervention to protect the people of Bunyoro, the vulnerable people there.
Okay.
And said, fine, there should be protection of indigenous rights. You guys have to leave this space. Okay? That's how they were pushed out. Because when it came to compensation, you would see the list is not having the indigenous people. Yet the law protects indigenous landowners in terms of natural resources. Okay? So if I buy land from you, after 2 years they discover that the land that I bought from you has gold, you have a claim. You get what I'm trying to say? That is within the law. You have a claim. Yes, you have a claim forever on that same land. So what happens is they are pushed from there and they come to Acholi. Even in Acholi, where they're settling, the pattern of settlement is also queried. Okay? Look at the areas they're settling. Amuro, Noya, of course, Noya and Amuro because of the oil and gas. Then you come to Amuro, you come to Pade, you come to Gulu district, the sites of Balaalo or Rojo and all that. They are positioning themselves where there is rich natural resource wealth, where there's gold, where there's oil, where there's uranium. That's where they're positioning themselves.
Do you have evidence?
So, yes, I have evidence. We even released research data to it, a 50-page research data. That sparked debate from the ministry. The entire Ministry of Energy went to Gulu. Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development went to Gulu.
Because you have people who are saying that you guys should dialogue.
Dialogue.
The Balaalo to solve this issue.
And I've told them clearly. Number one, you cannot come to seek peace from me when you're not willing to apologize. First of all, acknowledge your mistake. The Balaalo are not willing to acknowledge their mistake.
What did they do?
Up to now.
What did they do that you want them to apologize for?
They know what they did. They know what they did. We've mentioned it over time.
For
you
us,
allow your animals to stray on people's farms. You block roads. You barricade roads, government roads. Close access to people. Close access to water points for people. Okay?
So it's not only about the land that we actually get
the social
to hear.
behavior. The social behavior. You are parading yourselves in the villages with guns. People are in panic. People are in, the trauma of war, the trauma of seeing a gun. Why are they not attacking Emmanuel Dom? Why are they not attacking Majezi and the other people who are doing farming there? Why are they not attacking the white farmers? There are farmers who have come all the way from Ukraine.
Actually, those that are saying that the locals actually targeting a specific group of the Balaalo.
Why so? Ask yourself, why would I host you in my land for 10, 15 years and I'm resenting you now? Why so? Why? And in any case, if you're trying to blame the locals in the north, why is it that the Balaalo have always been chased from one place to the other? One place to the other. Why? Because when they come, what other people are saying about the tribal campaign. When they come, they create. So who is creating the tribal campaign? Why wasn't it tribalistic from Tanzania, from Congo, from Bulisa? Why? Why now in the north? That is just trying to guilt trip a region that has been through war and is trying to recover. A vulnerable group. So they should stop that kind of blackmail. That is actually blackmail. That's what I call civic arrogance. They want to use their intellectual narrative to create empathy and to make you feel guilty about what you are really going through. So it doesn't work that way. Okay?
So let's get back to the issue of dialogue.
The issue of dialogue is simple. One of what I think most of the tribes in the region or in the north, particularly in Acholi, we have a very strong justice system. We have a very strong reconciliation system. We have actually a format that has been studied over time, and I think even ICC was trying to look into it, especially with this investigation of Dominic Ongwen and Koyelo. We have what we call the matoput. Okay, when let's say a brother commits let's say somebody kills the other, there are processes that are done, the cultural rites that are done to make peace between these two people. Okay. And I think the same has been taken up by the judiciary in the country, where they're pushing now the alternative dispute resolution mechanisms within the judiciary, within the justice systems of Uganda. All that has been benchmarked from Acholi. So if it is dialogue, we are #1 in it. That's why even Kanyumunyu, who killed Akena, our son, he still went there and they forgave him. Didn't you see that? So why wouldn't you say The Balaalo who have not even killed people cannot be dialogued. But you cannot come for justice when your hands are dirty. You don't want to acknowledge your mistakes. You still think you can defend it. That is what it is. The Bariches are still defending the injustice. They have never condemned what has been going on. I've not seen a Mulalo condemning what the CDF tweeted, calling Dr. Mona an idiot. I would want to see them do that. Actually, I've been challenging them to do that. They're all mute. I would want to see them condemn their friend or their colleague, Rabashaja, who sued the paramount chief, an abomination in our tribe. Okay? He sued the and he's demanding, it's just ridiculous. He's demanding 1.6 billion. And the issue is very simple. The community complained to the cultural leadership. Cultural leadership went to mediate a land conflict, which is part of a justice system to handle the issues. The man decided to even leave the meeting. He became arrogant. He was very disrespectful. Something we cannot tolerate. We have tolerated enough. For 2 years, this has been on the radar. The cultural institution sat on the matter for 2 years.
But you've been living peacefully ever
that is how moderate we are. We sat on this matter for 2 years. The media, people like you, did not know about it. We just started speaking about it of late to make people know the extent of the aggression of these people. So when you come to an area, okay? When you come to my area, they say, even the Bazungus say, when you go to Rome, behave like the Romans. You cannot come to the Catholic Church and you think you're going to be more Catholic than the Pope. Never. So when you go to the Catholic Church, you have to follow the norms. You make the sign of the cross. You listen and follow their norms. You cannot come and bring your...
But there are those that go to the Catholic Church when they are not Catholics.
When you come to an area and then you want to impose your dominance, like what the situation you see in Palestine and Israel and all that,
yes,
you will create what they would call an existential threat. So the Balaalo are being pushed away from every area because for them when they come, they want to conquer you. They want to dominate you. They don't want to migrate and integrate. You get? Because there's migration and integration, which is allowable. So if these guys had settled in well, they were well behaved, they were moving on well with their life, with the local people, for all these years that they have been doing. So I believe maybe they got a bit comfortable. They felt like the people of Acholi did not know what they were doing, or the North did not know what they were doing. And I don't think if they spoil, or the way they have spoiled their stay in the North, they will get another space.
There's a question from Robert Simbira. Kenneth, thank you so much for watching. He says, why do you think eviction should be done before verification? Does that sound...
I think the president, it doesn't sound fair, but the president was trying to act on human intelligence. I've clearly told you. The anger that was brewing in the public would have led to death. There would have been a bloodbath. So the president is trying to act in time. Okay. And these guys should be understandable to that. And they should be willing to condemn the Balaalos who are bad themselves. So don't come defending yourself when you don't want to condemn those who are bad. And you talk about dialogue. I've given you our multiple justice system. Okay. But you can't come when your hands are dirty. Okay.
We have a country at stake. How do we resolve these issues amicably?
Number one, and this now transcends even the Balaalo question, okay? I've given you the background, because there is a lot of historical context to how divided this country is. Just like you hear about the colonialists using divide and rule system, I think I've also seen in the politics of Uganda, where the leadership in power normally wants to use one tribe against the other. Okay? Yeah. I think as a country, we are on a fastly ticking time bomb. We are on a time bomb. Look at the political space, look at the social division, the margins between the poor and the rich. Okay? Okay. When you have very many poor people and few rich people, definitely you're creating war yourself. So there's an economic war that is raging on in this country. There are political grievances that are brewing in this country. I'm now talking in general because the Balaalo also fit in here. Yes. And I think the best way to resolve it is to go by the approach of Honorable Norbert Mao. We must embrace a national program for a very honest conversation. One, on truth-telling. Okay? The Baganda must tell the Acholis what hurts them about the Acholis that they have not told them. Yeah. The same way, the Banyoro must go and talk to the Baganda There were historical contexts on how they lost some counties and all that. So there are grievances in every society. That must be dealt with as a country. Because Uganda found us here. Bunyoro existed. Acholi existed on their own. Everyone existed on their own. We are still trying to find a balance on how to put everyone in one box called Uganda. So there must be a very honest conversation on truth-telling. When we have told each other the truth, then we can then go for the reconciliation, national reconciliation.
Okay.
And I believe if we don't do that now, this country will blast one day. Very, very soon, this country is going to blast. And I'm telling you this, if you move and see and interact with the common man, the level of anger in the public is too much.
Let's talk about...
Let me give you context. Do you know why? And this happens, and this should tell you why in other countries you don't see the level of mob justice as it is in Uganda. In Kampala, yeah, if they mention that you're a thief, they will not even wait, they'll kill you, not so?
Yes.
That is the anger. Everyone, even those who are beating you do not know
but
why
that's
they're
not
beating
how
you.
things are supposed to be done.
Yes,
However much, that's what is happening.
So I'm telling you that the mob justice system that is implemented by the population in this country should tell you the level of anger. But also the political grievances that exist in this country, the social grievances, the economic grievances that exist in this country. So I think President Museveni should do this country justice. Okay? To open up the debate on transition. It is a very risky venture to even discuss transition in this country. But he must open it up because, you know, he's not going to live here forever. There will be time for him to go. So he must open this debate up and dialogue with everyone. I don't see anything that stops President Museveni to engage the likes of Besigye instead of arresting him.
But
the way
can
he has
dialogue
done.
bring
I don't
about
see any
peace in
problem
this
why he
country?
should not sit on the round table with Honorable Chagulanyi to discuss the future of this country if he means well. What would be a problem? What would be the problem of him setting an agenda to have a discussion with the opposition leadership? Because they are part of government anyway. Opposition...
opposition doesn't want to be part of the IPOD.
Opposition...
Because NUP doesn't subscribe to
No,
the
that is
IPOD.
pretense. That is pretense. Opposition is actually government. Are you aware?
Government
Their government may be on part B of the government.
Government in waiting.
Not government in waiting. Their government itself. Is Honorable Senyonyi government in waiting? He's in parliament. He's doing government business, not so. You think he's doing his private work? No, he's doing government
On the side
business.
of the opposition.
Whatever the case, opposition is part of government. So there cannot be a failure for the president to start leading a debate or a discussion for dialogue, internally, politically.
But we've had opposition political players saying they can't dialogue with President Museveni.
Has the president made attempts to that?
We have the IPOD.
The IPOD, the issues that the opposition raises on IPOD, have they been addressed? These are very simple things to handle. And these are
But then there are those who actually don't want to go for IPOD meetings.
The ego should be toned down. No, Noob has legitimate questions they're raising.
Ego has to be toned down by the two parties, the government and then the opposition itself.
You
So
see,
if opposition is not taking a step, and then government is taking a step by having the IPOD, so who are we going to look at in this matter?
the IPOD is an NGO, you know that? It's not a government setting. Yes.
But now in the Political Party and Organizations Act,
They were included, yes.
yes.
They're trying to create sort of a sketch about it. But the most important thing is this. We cannot fail to dialogue as a country. That is like trying to make a mistake by mistake. We can't fail. We can't really fail to dialogue as a country because these are the issues that keep trickling down.
In every region.
Yes, because the Balaalo issue is just one problem of Uganda, one small problem of Uganda. There are very many big problems in this country that needs to be handled.
Okay.
And it's very unfortunate that President Museveni is aging very fast and the future of Uganda is very uncertain. Very many people are scared. I have talked to people who every day they are moving in Kampala, they walk with their passports. They think anytime something is going to happen.
Yeah.
What if the president fails to wake up? What will happen? Nobody knows what is going to happen. So that is how we are living in a country.
We can't leave this place without talking about the issue of gold. When you look at a country like Uganda that is actually exporting gold, but then we actually don't know where this is coming from. So let me also ask you this. Is this gold issue part of the reasons as to why you no longer want the Balaalo in northern Uganda? Is it part of it?
That is one of the reasons. Natural resources. I've told you it's oil, it's gold, it's uranium, and so many other mineral resource wealth. because they are positioning themselves. Why would you come specifically for such an area if you, meaning the Balaalo have access to certain key information within government. The most mineralized area or region in Uganda is Karamoja. Karamoja is the richest region in terms of resource wealth, but they're the poorest in terms of household poverty.
Yeah.
Why? Why is Karamoja rich but poor? Why? Karamoja is rich but poor because of what I would term a natural resource curse. Part of the reason why we are trying to raise these questions for the Balaalo to respond to, or for the president to respond to, is because we are trying to avoid a natural resource curse like we see in Karamoja.
Okay.
Let me give you context. If indeed the Balaalo wanted grazing land, there's grazing land in Karamoja. But do you know why they're not going there?
It's hot.
It's not just hot. The Karamojongs would eat the cows. Because they have the same nomadic style, okay? The Karamojongs would eat the Balaalo cows thoroughly. So they would not risk going there. There is a lot of vacant land when you cross the border in South Sudan. They would not risk, because the balance of power is good there, because everyone has a gun, you know?
Okay.
In Karamoja, the locals also can access guns. In South Sudan, it is just normal business. So, the issue of gold and the general natural resource governance question is a very important discussion that we must have as a country. But specifically, for the gold sector in Uganda, it's a sector that must be opened up. And I want to encourage you, the media.
But so far we are producing very little gold and we are making big exports. One would wonder, where is this gold coming from?
Of course, there are issues being raised in terms of illicit mineral. I've read reports from very many established entities, be it the UN and so many other platforms, talking about conflict minerals being racketeered, and Kampala as an industrial hub for that kind of mineral trade, illicit mineral trade, meaning conflict mineral or minerals that have no traceability of origin.
But now the gold trade in Uganda is so opaque. Like it's opaque. It's not transparent.
Much as we have gold coming in, be it transit or it's coming in to be washed from Congo and South Sudan.
Yeah.
We also have a lot of gold deposits in Uganda, and we just need to be careful as a country to see how best we position ourselves, because gold is actually what is holding the economy now. I can tell you that.
Yes.
Gold is Uganda's biggest export earner. Okay? And government needs to regulate it, and the laws that government has put in place are good enough.
Okay.
The problem has been now on the implementation, where you find even the implementers are being put to task. They're not doing their job. The mineral police, there are also accusations of them playing double standards, okay? They're being used as part of the racketeering, yet they're the ones supposed to be a unit to handle that. So many investors,
they're saying that
they're
benefiting in one way or the other, but in an opaque way of doing things.
What you see, this is what they've done with the gold sector. If you move on the streets of Kampala and ask somebody, man, what do you know about gold? You know what they will tell you? This is a mafia business. This is for the cartels. This is for an established, connected group in government.
Yeah.
But I want to tell you something very simple. What they are doing is what the West has been doing. The Western world has been doing. America and the UK and all that. That's what they've been doing to China and Russia. Using their media platforms to control public opinion and narrative on how bad Russia and China is. Okay? But when China started opening up, about what they're exactly doing, how they are a global powerhouse in terms of manufacturing, people started believing. Okay? So the issue is control of narrative. They have built propaganda around the gold trade that it is a risky business. Of course, I've seen people lose money. It's risky, yes. But that was built up because there are a few cartels who want to control the gold trade alone. They don't want the local man to be involved in the gold trade. But the gold trade is where the money is. Because now, I'm very happy that Bank of Uganda has joined the gold buying program. And I appreciate that effort. That is part of the ways to open up the sector. And there are conversations into the gold trade that are even happening. Tomorrow, at Serena Chigu, we're having a gold banking conference. We want to discuss the gold sector and open it up. Okay? And I encourage the media to really take interest in this sector, because much as there are very bad stories about the gold, there are also good stories. Okay?
But
There are also good stories to be told.
Media has been silenced on this issue.
Yes, media has been silenced. I will give you an example of journalists who have been silenced, like Andrew Chamagero. Andrew Chamagero did a story on gold, okay? And I want to tell you, Andrew Chamagero was intimidated. He was arrested until some people helped him out of the country. Andrew Chamagero actually is in China, as I would say, on quiet exile. Andrew Chamagero of NTV. Because they did a gold story of a German investor who was fleeced $1.7 million.
Yeah.
Who was intimidated out of the country.
Is this
the man
intentional?
pushed his case, complained to the presidency. The president even set up an investors protection unit under Kano Nakalema, who are all being stepped on.
Is silencing journalists or media intentional?
Of course, the purpose is we control the public narrative. The matter must not be discussed. And if you, let me tell you, if you request for platform to discuss the gold trade in other media platforms, they'll even run away. So that's the narrative. But this is a sector that is paying people. We want our mothers, who are the artisanal miners on the ground, to earn money. Okay? To earn the money. We want them to know. We want the transparency in the trade. We want the openness in the trade. Okay? What we would term ESGs. Okay. Environmental social governance aspects of the trade. So the issue of traceability needs to be handled well. I want to applaud that it is a team of young IT experts who are trying to develop a blockchain technology to aid in tracing gold. So
in this matter of gold, what needs to be done for people to actually benefit from this gold politically and economically?
The economics of the gold trade is very simple, or the politics. Let me start with the economics. The economics. Firstly, people must know the gold trade is business that anybody can do. Just do it right and follow the law, just like any other business. In gold trade, you must make sure that you do proper consultation with those who have been there before, so you know what exactly is going on. People must know that the gold trade has been closed up by a few circles because they want to be there alone. Just like in the days of colonialism, when they came and found that there's minerals, the Belgians, the people from Belgium, King Leopold found that Congo has minerals. He said, I want this very part, okay? Don't bring other people here. So it's about closing the space. It's about closing the space. There is nothing wrong about the gold trade. People should actually join the mineral sector. Okay. Because it's a very big income earner for the country. So that is the economics. And we want to see also impact on the local artisanal miners. The local artisanal miners of Uganda are not benefiting as much as we expect them to benefit. Okay. Because gold is a precious metal, it's a high-level commodity. The price of gold as we speak now could be going between $110,000 to $120,000, depending on the market. Okay? So it's because the world is actually moving towards what they call de-dollarization. To run away from the dollar system, okay, and have what we call the gold system, because gold is the real money. The rest is credit. What we are seeing as paper, actually, if you read the history of how money started to be used, previously we used to use gold as the standard, what we call the gold standard. So you would go with a bar of gold like this to the bank and deposit it, and bank would give you what they call a promissory note. The promissory note is what we see now. It is a promise that we are giving you this paper, which paper is the current paper we're using as cash. That this paper is a representation of your 1 kilo of gold that you've deposited with us. Okay. So the world is trying to move back to the gold system. That is why every central bank is crashing to start buying gold. It's very unfortunate that when Museveni took over power, they opened up the sector and government stopped doing business. Yes. Bank of Uganda was the only bank or the only entity buying gold in Uganda. In Uganda. Before President Museveni took over. When they took over, they closed that system. They opened up, they privatized the sector, and now they've just woken up that indeed we need reserves. Because in the event that there's a global economic crash, Uganda has no reserves to survive. The economy of Uganda would break down. So those are the things that we need to deal with. Most importantly, the deposits that were declared by the president in the State of the Nation address, I still think that that is a good indication that we need to take on from. But also, that needs to be given with good data. Because, you know, there are so many investors who are questioning the data that was given to the president, because the value of gold that they have declared that Uganda has is 10 times more than the gold that has already been discovered and mined in other parts of the world combined. So they're saying Uganda has more gold than any other country. So I believe that
this is a blessing or
a natural resource is supposed to be a blessing, but normally turns out to be a curse. That's what you see in Congo. It's a natural resource war in Congo. Yeah. It's the same with South Sudan. They're fighting over oil and gold. Basically, then they use the Nuer and the Dinka to kill themselves. Basically, it's a natural resource war. Due to time, we are going to be closing it at this, so I would love for you to give us your closing remarks. First on the Balaalo, but also on the gold sector in Uganda. On the Balaalo, I would think there should be a debate, or there should be a very honest conversation. And this, I think, should be led by young people this time around. We should move towards something I would call a transformative youth-led agenda for Uganda. A transformative youth-led agenda for this country. Why am I saying that? Because I have realized that there is a generation of elders who seem to have their grievances among themselves. I don't think me and you have grievances, okay? Much as you come from a different area. Yeah. We don't have problems, me and you, okay? So you'd find your father could have had problems with another counterpart during the struggles of putting up this country to where it is. Okay? There's a generation that has their generational crisis. But they're trying to push it down to us, to our generation. Because let me say there's a genocide, God forbid, in Uganda. Who are going to be used in the killing? Me and you, not our age. We're the energy. We're the energy to be exploited. So I think, and this should be taken up by both government, the civil society, the religious entities, that there should be efforts to empower young people to lead this discussion on a transformative agenda on where they think this country should head. Even on the aspects of truth-telling, national reconciliation, all those programs, if they don't have young people at the center and they think the elders will sit and make decisions, that's why we don't see things trickling down. So that program of transformative agenda should be led by young people for this country. And we cannot fail to leave the elders. We can only have them to guide. So it is transformative youth-led agenda for the country, but elder-guided. That is one. Two, that is what I can conclude with on the issue of the Balaalo. I've just given it as a context for the whole country. Then two, on the gold trade, I think everyone needs to understand the myth that has been created around the gold trade, basically by a few people who think they should be the only one to be in the business. But this is an open business, and I encourage everyone to seek information from the rightful entities like in the ministry or other consultants that can help you. But ensure, and I want to appreciate Minister Nyamutoro. She has been trying to open up the sector. She's been moving to the field. She's been trying to even host TikTok live to answer questions about the mineral sector, which is a good avenue. And I also encourage the media to take interest, to tell the bad stories so people can learn from them, the people who have been scammed, people have lost money in Kampala. And I know on a daily basis, even as we are seated now, there's an investor in Kampala here who is losing millions. As I'm speaking. Every day that I sit, I get people calling me that I've lost money, I've lost money. But I also want to appreciate Alternative Digital for this platform, because the last time we spoke about gold trade, we shared some stories of some investors who feel that a platform like Digitalk should take it a little notch higher to capture their stories, to host them also, perhaps create a specific program. Because this is the heart of the economy, okay? To create a specific program or give them platform to tell their stories. Because the power of the media is very, very strong. And I want to tell you that Alternative Digital platform has gotten a very, very good reach with these investors. Some of the things we talk about here, we think ends here, but it's being discussed in the corridors of power in Washington. It's being discussed in the corridors of power in Dubai, in the presidency of different agencies. The ideas we've shared on this platform, and I've seen other countries like Ghana put it up already. So this is not a small platform that I take it as serious as I take it, because when we push this content out, people normally pick it up. The algorithms normally give them this. So I think the trade should be opened, and we should continue to keep talking about it. And it is a good business.
Thank you so much, Engineer Tonny, for joining us this morning. It has been a great time with you, sharing or giving insights on the issue of the Balaalo and then the gold trade in Uganda. We're going to be closing it at this. Thank you so much, our viewers, for watching. Thank you so much for those who have commented, for those that have shared. Thank you so much. I think I've not read any comments from our YouTube channel, but thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for keeping it the Alternative Digital. So don't miss the Voltage Show this evening at 7 to 9 p.m. I'm going to be moderating that show as well. So let's meet in the evening. Have yourselves a wonderful day. Good morning.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.